And if it suspects that you are not over 18, it will restrict what
There's going to be a lot more showing your identification.
If you've ever been thinking to yourself, my God, I wish I could somehow give YouTube more of my data to sell, today's your lucky day.
It doesn't look like you're old enough to read this Wikipedia article, so can you just go ahead and just give me a picture of your photo ID? As we start to get further and further into the digital age, it's obvious that the line between your online and offline life is starting to get blurred. With the current happenings going on over in lawmaker land, everyone is up in arms about the idea of a de-anonymized internet. It's one of those things that spirals out of control really quickly because it's only a matter of time before it spills over into the video gaming space. Nobody wants to have to dox themselves to play something like Valorant or just watch YouTube. That includes every single one of you degenerates with 28 likes in your avi. You know what you are. But it does start to spell out trouble because you're doing away with the concept of having a privatized space where you can just be yourself. And truthfully, people just prefer to keep their online life separate from their real one. There's far less judgment, okay? Just, let people have their hobbies. Because there are things in real life that actively do prevent people from living how they want to that doesn't apply in a digital space. There are droves and droves of people who are trans, furries, or handicapped, and the digital world allows them to live in ways that they otherwise couldn't. There are others that do, other things in the game, I suppose. I'm not gonna be one to yuck your yums or anything, but, I mean, if you have fun with it, okay, you do you. But the problem with true anonymity over the internet is that it's really a double-edged sword. Because the thing about being anonymous is that it also applies to people who are doing very bad things. People abusing this anonymity to do very vile things in the presence of children, let's put it at that. So of course, nobody really wants to be known as like the predator central of the world, so VRChat did feel the need to step in. Arguably, in my opinion, it's on the fault of the parents, considering that means you got your kid a MetaQuest for Christmas or something, just threw it at them completely unmoderated, but that's beside the point. So in order to solve for this sort of an issue that was going on within the game, their solution was to add an ID verification check into the game. How they did this was by partnering with a company called Persona, a company based in San Francisco, which is known for providing ID verification checks on a professional level. But of course, backlash for using this sort of a system was almost immediate. Because, let's just keep it a stack, GDPR in any sense in America is basically a joke, so people didn't really feel too safe handing their government ID and then just leaving it up to a gentleman's handshake that the other party would keep it safe. Especially when, in a lot of these cases, a lot of these companies aren't even accountable to us. Everyone who actually suffered from these sorts of events or data breaches is at the bottom of the totem pole whenever it comes time to get paid. So yeah, you could hold them accountable, but it'll be like, you get $1, you get $1, you get $1, you get $2. So to solve for this, they developed the hash system. All it does is just scan for certain bits of metadata on the ID and then instead attaching the hash that's developed out of it onto the account. That way, the ID itself doesn't have to be stored. To which does partially help solve the problem, it's just the idea that it's still left up to a gentleman's handshake as to whether or not that data is deleted. Because we're just leaving it up to a bro trust me that when VRChat tells Persona, hey, delete this ID, that they actually do it. Which is actually a lot more common than you think. Apple actually did get into some hot water because of a bug with iCloud that restored photos users had requested to be deleted. But it's not like ones that you just snapped last week or ones that you took while your phone was in your pocket by accident. I'm talking ones that spanned 5, 10, 15 years ago. So the issue here is the implication that at some point there is a data center that still houses the images. And the question is why? But it's that level of accountability that people are just afraid of. You're leaving it up to a gentleman's handshake that you will delete the ID when the company says so. But then there are also problems with things like the general distrust in the system itself. So everything I'm about to tell you is secondhand just from other friends that I know that have been into these age-verified instances. So generally, a lot of the time they go into them, they will still be asked for their age and date of birth. Because a lot of the people that run these instances do have an understanding that because no system is foolproof, there could very well be minors in these sorts of instances. They would tell them, hey look, I'm age verified in my bio, but oftentimes will be told that it's not enough because people could lie about it. But if the idea here is that a child can lie and then fake the ID verification, why would you then trust their word that they are of age when you ask for that age and date of birth? Like, to me that seems a bit counterintuitive, does it not? Like, it's just horseshoe theory all over again. You just go so far in one direction, you end up right back where you started. If the ID verification system cannot be trusted, people are still going to default back to what they were doing before, which was just walking up and asking, are you of age? Now, the concept of faking this sort of thing does sound a bit ridiculous, but hear me out. So, what prompted me to even do this in the first place was I was just hanging around in a prison escape lobby, which is just a game where you have a bunch of prisoners, you gotta kill the guards, escape the prison. Pretty much all you need to know. There was like literally just a kid sitting in the corner by like the couch of it saying that he could fake the verification because he was using his dad's account. And he was saying, in his own words, the only reason he couldn't was because he was a broke bitch who didn't have enough for VRC Plus. Because you do have to subscribe to VRC Plus in order to get the age verification. But then I really sat there thinking like, well, if the only barrier between him and getting to someplace he really shouldn't be is about 15 bucks, is that not really the bigger issue? He did mention something about using his dad's Facebook account, so I would assume he's using a MetaQuest. So if his dad was age verified, he could very well circumvent it by just logging into his dad's account, which doesn't really seem too far-fetched of a thing that he could do. So to give some credit where it's due, I don't really think it's that much of a power trip if it genuinely was that easy to dodge this sort of an age check. But I would assume that to be a failure on his dad, being that his account was left logged into a family shared device. I feel like mixing your online and your offline life is kind of nasty. Like, why would you ever log into VRC on a family shared device? What the f is wrong with you? But then having heard that, I just started thinking about a lot more things. Like, why is the system set up the way it is? Because right now, I'm not age verified. Why is it that in 2 clicks I can get an NSFW furry avatar, either uploaded myself or ripped directly from a public world? Heck, why is it that if I'm not age verified right now, why is it that I'm even allowed an account? If the idea of this is to stop children from having these sorts of weird interactions with adults, why are their children allowed there in the first place? If the main idea of this sort of a feature is to separate these age groups, why not do that at onboarding when you sign up for the account? Because what makes it the most toxic is I can see where this is going already. With the current happenings over the internet and its effective de-anonymization, we're eventually going to reach a point where VRC is going to have to choose between allowing children on the platform or just age checking people right out of the gate. But at that point, it's just going to amount to nothing more than just picking the lesser of two evils. Because in one way, you basically have to dox yourself to play a video game, but the other way will involve having to tone down what happens within the game. Things like NSFW, things like horror, things that aren't savory to the public eye, those are just going to end up being censored to capitulate and help a group of people that quite frankly shouldn't even be there. Anyways, thank you so much. I hate having to do this cringe thing, but Big Red is forcing me to ask you to like, comment, and subscribe, or else you don't count apparently.